Hey guys, okay, I'm back. Decided this is a little workstation I have, a little work corner that I have in the living room, and I have my old PC here. So what I'll be doing is I'll be showing you how I'm gonna take out whatever is in the PC that was previously installed, and put in the new processor, the new motherboard, and new power supply that I bought for the PC. So stay tuned again, and I'll see you in a few seconds again. Alright guys, so I'm back and I am in front of the PC. As you can see, this is the old PC, and what I'm trying to do is I'll take out the major parts from the PC first, right? So in the process you'll probably get to learn a little bit about the cables. I think this is probably the easiest one. This is a SATA cable. This is the data for the SATA cable. It's a little bit dusty because of course it's a used PC. And we're clearing this out, we're pulling these things out from the motherboard. So I had 3 SATA cables here. This is something I want to talk about. A lot of the times this 4-pin is what we call the Molex. The Molex adapters can be converted into these SATA power adapters. So you could get these for fairly cheap. I got them in Supertech for, I think it's about $25 for one, which is not bad. And you need this especially for old power supplies that don't have the SATA ports. You just use a converter. And building a PC is not really that hard. Just need to know where things go. This I'm pulling out here is the power. It's 4P plus 20 pins. Normal standard ATX power. And of course there's another 4-pin that goes into the motherboard as well, that powers the motherboard. Now we'll get to how we build it, but as I said, I'm going to take out this it's a working power supply, but it's taken some, well, it would have taken a lot of work. I would have at least had this machine for at least a year running non-stop. So since I'm putting in a new board, I decided I'll put in a I'll change the power supply one time, right? And the reason for that is that when power supplies go, as I say, they normally malfunction in such a way that they could send out electrical signal into the board and blow the board. So we don't want that. All ATX cases, which is just these type of CPU cases, they normally come with cables that connect to the motherboard for the switches, so that the switches will work. The front power switch, for example, will work, and your LED lights and whatnot would light up. And so I'm going to pull that out. Just pull it out there, and you could probably see it. I hope you could see this video from this video. I have 2 hard drives here, and I will put these back into RAID 1, which is mirroring. But these are fine. These are supposed to be fine, so I'm leaving them in. And pulling out, I think this is a USB port connector. Yep, and has dust, you see. So the thing is, you can't really avoid dust per se. You can try to keep your environment as clean as possible, and you still end up with dust. It's always good to clean your PC once in a while, and you should be good to go. Especially because when you have, well, they claim, I have not really ever seen this, but they claim that the dust has a lot of electrostatic charges, and so you can actually draw current out of the components when you have dust on the components. Alright, so the nice thing about these generic boards is that you could, generic cases, is that you could take out the parts piece by piece. It's modular and easily could be removed. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to remove firstly the power supply. Now I'm going to shift the board. I'm going to shift it a little bit so you could see what I'm talking about. The power supply is here. Power supply is here, and they have 4 screws, 3, 4, and you can just unscrew it and basically pull out this box and replace with another one. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to unscrew it. Now with doing all these things, you know, you have to make sure that your power is not connected, right? Because you don't want to damage yourself and you don't want to damage your computer in the process of doing this. So at all times, make sure that it is never powered on while messing with the power supply. In fact, any of the components, you probably shouldn't be messing too much with touching it once it's on. You know, sometimes you have to say the obvious. It looks like this might also be a screw here, so it's actually looking to be 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4. Okay. Now the next thing is that you shouldn't really be too fooled with the wattage of a power supply. 600 watts is as good as you probably need for a basic machine. I see people, you know, buying 1200 watts and they feel, yeah, that's great, that's great. It is good, but I don't think you really require it for a normal desktop machine. In fact, you might actually be drawing more current than you probably would with a 300 watt or 400 watts. So you might actually be drawing more current than you want to, and which means that your bills will also be going up because of the wattage. So this is sometimes a little bit hard to come out. Yep, good. So this is a power supply, and this is found at the back of the machine. Now you can see there is a lot of dust. It's really hard to clean those fans. They design this thing in such a way. I always say they design these things not to be able to be cleaned properly, because in order to interfere with this fan, you have to go in, which is like, you know, by just entering into the power supply is kind of unsafe, especially for somebody who's a newbie, somebody who doesn't really do a lot of work with electronics and electrical stuff. I don't interfere with it. I rather not. Right, so this is basically nearly gutted out. All we have is really the motherboard, which takes a while to take out. It's just the screws is like the hardest thing to get out because it's so small. But other than that, we good. We're good to go. All right, so I'm gonna take out the screws. Now motherboards, it depends on who installed the motherboard, how many screws it has. Normally I put at least 4 screws and make sure that the motherboard is flat, that it can't bend or break while pushing in a card, and that's really the rule of thumb for a motherboard. I don't think it's really, as I said, I don't think it's really complicated. It's one of the easiest things. You know, when people say, "Wow, you can buy a computer," I'd be like, "Oh, well, that's, you know, that's a small thing," and it really is a small thing. You should probably get used to messing around with these things because it's really not hard anymore. Long time it's probably hard, and even electrostatic discharge is like, I've never really come across electrostatic discharge that actually blew or damaged a motherboard or video card nowadays. I think that the electronics in it probably got better, I suppose, in terms of that. In terms of the quality of parts, I will not say that the quality of parts have been better in terms of these hardware devices. I remember, as I said, I was talking to this guy today, IT guy that I was buying the motherboard from. You know, motherboard used to last, a motherboard would last you 10 years long ago, 5 to 10 years. Now a motherboard only lasting you 2 years. You might only get 6 months off of these cheap motherboards. So components, not too good, but everything else fine. I could just imagine the kind of dust it have behind this motherboard. I'd be surprised if it doesn't. So surprise me. Right. I should probably take out these RAM chips because I'm going to use back the RAM. I'm actually going to use back this motherboard. So everything is valuable. This is a perfectly fine working motherboard in terms of what it used to do and what I required it to do. But because we're getting something faster, we go with the faster one, right? Okay, I forgot one cable I need to unplug here, which is another USB cable. And here you have it. This is your motherboard. And this is an ASRock motherboard. It's a fairly decent motherboard. But it doesn't support the FM2 Plus, well the FX or the A series that I want to. I guess it's because the BIOS isn't updated, so I'm not going to mess with that. I'm just going to say, hey, I'll keep you with your AMD Athlon 2X2 255 processor, and we'll use this for something else. Great, I think we're doing well. Good. Where did I put down the motherboard? Okay, so the motherboard here. Alright, Bill. So someone be here. Bill. Good. Our top quality stability military class motherboard. So they say. So they say. Okay, so what we got here, 2 SATA cables. Oh, excellent, man. Even nicer. Even nicer. One is looking nice for a CD-ROM drive, so I may even use these. I'll leave them here. I always try to put in the back end. You should always put in the back end, huh? Because you don't want the air to come out, so that's useful. Here we have the motherboard, which is nicely packed, I would have to say. I was not about to put the motherboard on top of my Samsung Galaxy, but that is not a good idea, people. I mean, your Samsung Galaxy probably giving off so much different sort of radiation and whatnot. It's not a good idea. Just put the Samsung Galaxy away. Sure, we got some things like a CD with some stuff and a quick start guide. And we probably will never really use the CD, but I'll leave it here until. Should probably leave this out. I'll leave the CD out in case we need to install any drivers. Chances are when we install this into our system that already has Windows 7, it's going to crash. So we need to install that into what we call safe mode, and safe mode will detect the drivers necessary to have this thing working. So pay attention to all my tips because they're actually useful and will save you a lot of time in the long run. Okay, with that being said, I will put our old motherboard back into here for safety, to be saved for a later time. And I don't know why they always make the boxes so that they do not fit with the fan, which I always think that they should. No way some, how cheap could you get, but I guess it's slimline and space too, so what? Another Molex. Cool. So now one of the things you want to do is of course line up the motherboard in such a way that it fits perfectly with your design. Oh. And you have to be extremely careful with these cases. These cases come with this aluminum. I think it's aluminum, but it's painted with something, and every time you get caught with it, it takes long to get healed. This is of course the backing which I was talking about. The backing, save this for your old motherboard. Alright, cool. And that was that. Okay. Don't know how long this video is going to be, but I suspect it's going to be extremely long. Especially, and you know, I'm actually taking my time. I could do this in under 15 minutes. But I'm not in a hurry. Nice motherboard, black. I'm accustomed to normally blue and red motherboards. This is nice, a nice change. Looks very nice, spectacular. Okay. Oh, I was getting worried. I only saw 2 ports, 2 SATA ports, but there's 2 SATA ports on the side here. That's very nice. That's very nice as well. I think that's an excellent choice. I think it was made. This motherboard actually comes with an HDMI port, which is a newer technology again as well, and USB 3.0, very sweet, and onboard. So it actually can do dual display, which is really, really nice for development purposes. As a, as a programmer, I always say that it's really hard to be a programmer and not have a second screen, two monitors. It's the way to go. Most techies do that, even Mr. Robot, which is my new favorite show. Oh, they see this thing so well, I can't find. Right, I found it. So we need to put in the backing before we put the motherboard in. Now the backing normally, it has, these little clips on the inside, around it. I don't know if you can see it. These little indent clips here on the side, and you push this in and it just kind of sort of sticks. And then the motherboard jams against this and holds it into place at the back. So I'm just going to fit that in. This is another thing that doesn't really fit very well, but you really need to, probably in the way there, need to get this thing in. So let me leverage some weight here. Why they could never make this thing exact, I have no idea. Aha, good. Got it in. And what's even more frustrating about this part is that there's things that can really cut you. So I always say there's some level of danger involved in it. Okay, that'll work. It's not perfectly in, but it'll work considering the shape of it. Right, so let's put this back here. We need to make sure that these screws underneath here, you will notice that there are screws that keep the motherboard from actually touching the chassis, and that's what we want. These screws are already in, but you'd have to normally place these screws in. They come in with the ATX package in the box. And so we line these things up. Oh, actually, it's a good thing. Before we put the motherboard in, of course, I wanted to put in the power supply. And it's important that you do that sometimes because the power supply could be so much harder to put in if you put the motherboard in already. So let's do it the right way. Makes it easier. Here we have a brand new spanking power supply. Comes with a power cord and screws to mount at the back. But we already have screws, so. And this is a 600 watt Omega power supply, nothing fantastic, but it'll do the job. Power supply is extremely light compared to this one. Hopefully that doesn't mean quality is lacking. I hope I don't run out of video time, but there's a possibility I will. In which case, that would really not be cool. Right, which way do we put it? Always put the motherboard to line up properly. Sorry, not the motherboard I'm talking about. Always put the system, always put the power supply to line up properly. Question is which way is properly? Well, let's see. That's not it, so we have to spin it around. There's only really one way it could go in, so one way it could go in. Ah, look. Yep, sweet, see? Lines up perfectly. You have to make sure, of course, the holes are lining up properly as well. So we want to make sure everything is out. Nothing get jammed in between while we're putting back in the screws. Should we put back in brand new screws is the question. Why not? Could also fall out there, but of course that's only like $110. So in the grand scheme of things, that's not the most expensive point, but it's also a point where you have to remember a bad power supply means a bad motherboard. It's gonna blow, right? So I tend to change my power supplies every year or 2 years, 2 years max. You know? Very nice, very nice, man. And of course, the reason for replacing every 2 years is because you don't want that power supply to blow your entire system if it decides to malfunction. $500 is not bad, you know. I really miss having my other camera. I know that I would get at least a 1.5, 2 hours, but this camera only gives me about 20 minutes. But don't worry, I've got birthday money for that as well. So, screwdriver sucks, but cool. Power supply in. Time for the motherboard. Let's go to the motherboard. The motherboard. I was wondering why they didn't say fatherboard, but okay, whatever. To me, the most irritating thing is, you know, managing the cables. Let's line this guy up. And it must be perfectly lined, by the way. Not lining up properly means major issues later on. Probably even break the board too, so. Line up, line up. Line up for your rights. That's not this one. What? No, not me. See why it's important for it to line up as well, because it has to fit in a specific spot. If it doesn't line up properly, things like the HDMI port will end up not working. So this one has been a little bit of a pain. We line up okay, but maybe not. For sure, these things don't seem to be lined up properly. It apparently didn't bend the. Problem, man. I don't think when you do this. Alright, I think we will get it now. Aha! Very good. Very good.